Today's going to be the meat and potatoes of Valorant mechanics. I'm going to give you some tips on how to aim and how to shoot so we can stop rolling over and dying every time someone appears on our screen and learn to fight back and defend ourselves. I'm going to help you gain the confidence you need so that you can continue to improve on your own. Today's video is brought to you by absolutely nobody except me. So please help a brother out, subscribe, and help spread the good word on my channel. Anyways, back to it. The clips you're about to see is a problem for every player, even at high levels, and it's going to be a bunch of kills that are gotten when I'm shooting before actually aiming. This can lead to a lot of problems and lead you down a road of inconsistency if you rely on it too much, and none of your kills will feel clean or crisp. And in the long run, you'll probably take a lot more unnecessary damage, or even worse, lose fights that you feel like you really should have won. So either more damage or more deaths, it's something that you're going to want to fix, because if you habitually shoot before aiming, it poses a lot of problems and they all tie in with each other, and it can lead you to feeling like you're in a slump. So I'm going to try to break down the habit of that and how to fix it. It all kind of comes down to first bullet accuracy or first shot accuracy. The more on point your first shot is, the more duels you'll likely win and more openings you'll likely create for your team. So it's like extremely important in this game. So let's look at all the problems that arise when we start shooting before we aim. Problem 1. Shooting makes you stationary, so you're likely to take a lot of damage or even die. Your offense is also your most vulnerable moment is when you're shooting. And good offense is going to beat good defense or like defensive maneuvering, because if you hit your shot, you're just going to kill them. But like mentioned before, if you shoot more bullets, you're going to be more committed to the fight. And because you're committed, it's kind of hard for you to just stop, reset your aim, or stop and try to get back into cover. Problem 2. Shooting any bullet before aiming will turn into a miss, obviously, and that's basically whiffing. You give the enemy time to react. It's harder to adjust or control your shots or recoil in the middle of your sprays, and it's very unreliable. It can make easy kills hard, or you whiff altogether. Problem number 3. Shooting more than 5 bullets and your recoil gets very hard to manage. This gives that feeling of like a floating gun. You always want to maintain control of your mouse, of your hand, of your aim, and your recoil. Spray transfers are very unreliable. In most cases, it's probably better to reset and move. Now this is going to sound stupid, but the solution is aim before you shoot. Now it sounds stupid and obvious, I know, but this is a huge offender that everybody's guilty of. So when you guys are practicing in the range or in the death matches, I need you to take a second and just make sure that you're actually lining up your shot before you take it. Even if you have to slow things down, which I do recommend, when you're practicing, slow it down and make sure that your shot is lined up. You don't achieve speed by necessarily going as fast as you can. Any hard task with practice, you start slow and then you build up speed as you naturally get better at it, more comfortable with the motions, and familiarize yourself with the habit of actually aiming before you shoot. Because if you don't aim and you simply try to shoot at their general area as fast as you can, you're gonna end up building a bad habit and shoot off a few bullets as you're redirecting your aim towards them. Now, as I've just mentioned, if you miss your first few bullets, you're gonna end up getting a floaty feeling and lose control. Plus, you're gonna be in the middle of your spray, which doesn't have a set in stone pattern like CS, so it's gonna be a lot harder to try and recover from that. Now, I'm not saying to go at like a snail's pace, just make sure that you prioritize accuracy over speed, because once you get comfortable with accuracy, that's when the speed will pick up naturally by itself. Now, aiming in general is a very feel-based thing. No one else can feel it for you. It has to be within you. So no one can help you directly. It's just something that you gotta feel. And to achieve good mechanics, you just gotta put in the time, but also make sure that you're spending that time wisely by being consistent with good habits. I would go as far to say that the most important thing is to always maintain your mouse control. And while you should do the bulk of your practice in the game itself, in Valorant, I think external aim trainers can be good to develop further mouse control. And if you're the type to like overthink a lot of stuff like settings or sensitivity, aim trainers can be good in helping you get that peace of mind, because you put in the time to get comfortable with your sense. You're gonna feel confident that it's the right one for you because you practice with it through training. Aim trainers are also good at helping you to realize what body parts that you're actually aiming with. Now, Valorant isn't super aim intensive. However, if you're comfortable with like all spectrums of aiming, you'll just be like that much crazier in the game when the rare moments arise and those other kinds of crazy aim is needed. Now, going back to body parts and aiming directly, we use our fingers, hands, wrists, forearms, elbows, and shoulders. Basically your entire arm. Depending on your sensitivity, the focus of your aim is going to be on like your fingers and hands, or your wrist and forearms, or your forearms and shoulder and elbow. For example, the higher sense, more likely to use only the fingertips and the hand and a little bit of wrist. Medium fast sense is like you're going to use the wrist a lot, maybe some forearm, a little bit of elbow and shoulder. And then slow sense, you're going to do a whole lot of arm movements. But for micro adjustments, you'll still use your fingertips, hand, wrist, etc. So you got to find out what is comfortable for you, so you never feel lazy to make that micro adjustment or wide flick when the situation arises. Also, of course, your posture is going to matter and how your legs are planted. If they're firm on the ground and your posture is decent to good, that's what you want to achieve. If your posture is bad or your feet are like floating or in different positions every time, it's going to lead to inconsistency, and your body, the foundation, is not going to be firmly planted, and it can lead to your arm feeling different. Like some days it'll feel faster, some days it'll feel slower. So just to get consistent, try to get a consistent position that's not too bad for your health as well. Have a stable foundation. Alright, so aiming is basically like a direct skill test of our hand-eye coordination, and just like when we're working out, we want to have that mind-muscle connection to activate the right body parts. And one way to think about it is the first point of contact for this coordination to work is our eyes. If our eyes are kind of wandering, we'll be a little slower to react, and it'll be hard. Our eyes need to be focused on the target or targets. Check out this example. If you stare at a fan spinning around on the ceiling, all you see is one shape, like one blurry shape. However, if you focus your eyes onto a single blade of that fan, you'll start to notice that you can actually track the fan's movements with your eye. You're like locked in on it. This is the level of eye focus that we want to maintain when we're scanning for targets or when we spot a target, and we trust our body to do the rest. If your eyes are locked in on the prize, your hand or finger or arm or wrist, whatever, will know what to do, and you'll naturally go towards that target. Personally, I think focusing with your eyes is hugely understated, and it may help make a big difference in your games, in my opinion. Another little tip, when looking at an enemy target or a bot, and you think about their hitbox, meaning any area on them that you land a bullet on, it's gonna hurt and register. Instead of thinking about it this way, their head is a small target and it's moving really fast and it's kind of hard to pinpoint. Think about their body like a big rectangle. You just have to aim somewhere around the middle of the rectangle area and aim slightly up. I feel like if you think about it this way, it might help you to make the task seem easier. Whereas if you're trying to aim for like a really tiny head and it's moving side to side really fast, that can be a lot harder, or seem a lot harder, or seem impossible. So looking at it this way might make it easier for you. It may help to relieve some pressure, which could lead to smoother aim. Now this next factor is very important. You have to trust yourself and be confident in your aim. Don't overthink or doubt yourself, because it will affect you 100%. And somehow at the same time, you got to keep all these things in mind, or have these thoughts ingrained in your head so that you don't even have to think about it. You just do it. Now, how do we gain confidence? If you're lacking in this, simply just put in the time and the hours until you are so comfortable with it that you know you can reproduce it at any time. Now, moving on to a little bit about angle advantage. Whoever is closer to the angle is going to be at a disadvantage because they'll get spotted first. So this angle advantage, it varies on distance and it's dependent on both parties' positioning. However, it's not always black and white. The point of angle or contact is not always obvious, and the situations are not always straightforward, meaning you don't always want to be like as far back as possible in every situation. Sometimes speed is good. So trying not to overcomplicate things, consider these two factors. How you're gonna look on the enemy screen. You want to be fast, so you gotta strafe perfectly side to side. That means no forward or backward or diagonal. So even though technically you're at an angle disadvantage, screw it. There's gonna be situations where speed is more important than having the angle advantage. The other factor is when you're like walking, clearing stuff, which also happens a lot, then angle advantage is very important for a lot of these camping spots. So try to use it. Because if someone's holding or camping and you're walking slow and they see you first, on top of all that, you're gonna be pretty much a dead man walking. So be sure to use angle advantage when you can. Now finally, last but not least, the art of shooting itself. Now there's basically 3 ways to shoot. You can tap, burst, or spray. Bursting is probably best in Valorant. It's effective at a lot of ranges. It keeps you mobile, so you're harder to hit. When stuff is close, spray the hell out of them. And when they're extra far, you can try to opt to tap them instead, while still being mobile. One little tip that may help you: in order to maintain constant recoil control, try to feel it when you shoot every bullet. You can achieve this by doing something as simple as slightly pulling down after each shot. In particular with like weapons that you tap with, like a Sheriff or a Guardian, even a Classic. Now you don't want to overdo it because you will have to pull slightly back up, but the point of this is to just feel like you're maintaining control the entire time. Like the recoil will never slip from you because you're engaged with your mouse the entire time. You should feel in control. Again, aiming is all about feel, so it's going to be something that you just have to try to find out for yourself. However, in the long run, bursting 2 to 3 bullets and moving is probably your best bet. And technically you can move when your last bullet is shot, which may lead to some kills that look like you're shooting while moving. Also, while you're in the practice range, or in a real game, try your best to do smooth straight lines from where you're currently aiming to where you're wanting to aim. Smooth straight lines means you're in control and you want to avoid like flailing around as much as possible. You want to keep unnecessary movements down to a minimum, and the shortest distance between 2 points is going to be a straight line. So you want your aim to be under control at all times as much as possible, and it's going to look clean. A good way to gauge your control would be like to try to track a moving target or a bot. So just get into the range and start tracking a bot while you're strafing side to side. This can kind of expose sometimes if your sensitivity is too slow or too fast. But if you're feeling good with your sense, don't change it based on this result. Just work on getting it to work. So instead of changing it, if you don't want to, stick with it and fix how your body or your hand or arm or whatever is tracking that target instead. And another word on click timing, it's not really super important, but it's just good to know in the back of your mind if you're not aware. In between each bullet, you can still aim. You can still move your aim. So this can be seen as like a little quick warm-up, just gets you in the right mood to move your hand proper if you want to incorporate it for like a couple minutes into your warm-up routine. So this will help your like subconscious pull off those crazy flicks, and then you click at the right time. Sometimes you'll get kills even like mid-flick, it seems like. Anyway, it's not reliable, it's not consistent, but it's nice to know about it and keep it in the back of your mind. And it could help with your adjusts, micro adjusts and flicks. Now once again, if you guys made it this far, I want to take a second to thank you guys for your time. And if you appreciate this like I appreciate you, be sure to like, share, subscribe with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.